let's talk about Edgecombe County Schools.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had an opportunity. It's the first time I really knew what you were doing recently, right? To go to a foundation luncheon.
Yep.
And the point of it was to raise money to really re-recruit, basically, our own back into our school system.
Yes, it was our appreciation luncheon for the donors.
Okay.
That we had.
So let's talk about that. Let's just start there with that initiative, because I was so impressed with that. I guess everybody was paired up with a donor, a teacher, somebody in the system, somebody in the program. And I was very impressed with the whole notion. We call that, my organization, re-recruit the keepers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because, everybody spends so much time trying to bring new stuff in and new people in. And you forget to look at that person who's been there with you for 20 years.
Correct.
Who really who's built the organization to what it is, good, bad, or indifferent. But they're the people that really we've been leaning on. And we don't celebrate them like we ought to.
Correct. And even like thinking of that, I mean, this is aside, but
well, it's all tied together.
It is. And when we talk about, like stewardship of donors, there's we don't believe, I don't believe in that transactional donor relationship, right? We believe, and I will say for the Scholar Teacher program especially, the donors are partners with us in making this work happen.
Right.
So the luncheon that we invited you to was our Scholar Teacher Appreciation Luncheon for the Scholar Teacher program, which is Edgecombe County Public Schools Grow Your Own Teacher program.
Right.
The program was started almost 6 years ago, and it was, as everyone sees on the news, teacher recruitment is hard.
Yeah. Teacher
retention is harder. It's a hard job. It's an art to be a teacher. And the pipeline of teachers is leaky. And so we had a couple of brilliant leaders, Dr. Bridges as the superintendent, Matt Smith, principal at the early college, and then of course Aaron Swanson was with the district, to really think about, well, what does this look like of how do we grow our own?
Right.
And then they come back to Edgecombe County Public Schools. And that's what the Scholar Teacher program is. It's us finding a solution of a for us, by us. Right. And so
because who else understands the culture? Who better understands the value of living there? Who else is going to be happier living back at home, than folks that are from here?
Correct. And when I talk to people, I'm just like, who's going to take care of your baby more and our ECPS babies more than somebody who's been in Edgecombe County?
That's right. Or Nash County or Wilson County, but I mean, but adjacent.
But adjacent to here. And so how the program works is it's students that are housed within the early college, high school that's on the Edgecombe Community College campus. Right. Students around their junior year identify, I think I want to be a teacher. Okay. And they've been, given some idea of what that could possibly look like. And they spend 2 years doing teacher cadet training, taking classes. And then in their senior and super senior year, they're doing 200 hours of internships under master mentor teachers.
Right. I did not pick up on that. Yes. That is, wow. 200 hours. That's
200 hours. So at that point, when they graduate, they know, I want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
They apply for a scholarship. And at this point, most of them only have 3 years of college left. We give them $10,000 each year. So that's $30,000 to go to college as a scholarship that usually covers their tuition. And then they come back and they give us 3 years of service.
Right.
We are now in the point where I have 10 teachers that are in the pipeline to come back. And we have 2 cohorts that are currently in ECPS teaching.
That is outstanding.
It's fantastic.
And so what's the goal? I mean, and this is really just warmed up, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's only 5 years old. So really your first 2 classes have just come out. And it started, I'm sure like most programs, small, and it's growing.
And we've got I know you saw Jackie Dickens, who was one of our first coordinators. She's brilliant. So she's in her 3rd year of teaching. So she's stayed through the duration of the program. Her kids love her.
Certainly the poster child for the program, for sure.
Goodness.
I should say child, the poster woman
for the program. Yeah. Seeing her.
Rock star for sure.
Oh, yeah. Her in the classroom, that is teaching as an art. And then Naisha Dickens, who's at Coker Wimberley. Yeah. We had, this is a side, but we had she told the kids one day, hey, I have a secret to tell y'all. And they're like, what's the secret, Miss Dickens? Yeah. And she says, I also went to Coker Wimberley. And every single kid, their eyes just lit up
Yeah.
And they're asking her 1,000 questions. Who was your teacher? And what did you do when you were here?
But that's so important, though, to identify, right? I mean, it's everything's relationship. I mean, that's what my mother says. I believe it. You know, Jesus died on the cross, if you're a Christian, for nothing more than relationship.
Right.
You know, so it's so important. I did the same thing at Catholic school. I went to the Catholic school and they invited me for something, and the kids were just immediately identified. Oh, you're one of us.
You're one of us. Well, I can see myself in you. And if you can do it, that means I can do it too. Yeah. Especially with kindergarten when reading is on the line. You need to know.
What is it? I mean, what's the rule? Whatever your reading level is by third grade, you will determine how many prison beds we need to do. I mean, I don't remember the math exactly, but that's an important time.
It's an important time. It is an important time. So so we've been doing this program. We have had a significant amount of success of bringing students in, bringing them to the pipeline, and we're on the path now, even as we think about fundraising, of as long as there's an ECPS, we're building our endowment to a place where there is always going to be a scholar teacher program.
Well, tell me what the goal on that is. Tell me how people can get involved, because we're going to talk about it. Let's go and make the ask.
We're going to just get the ask out of the way now.
Get it out
I try to warm people up more a little bit.
You know, I'm all about, let me just go with the shock and awe, and then we'll back up. Okay, what questions do you have?
I'll take that. So for us to get to our endowment, it'll be $2 million.
Okay.
And that will allow us to graduate 3 kids, so 3 students every single year, to be joining our teacher pipeline coming right into Edgecombe County.
Okay.
And where we're at right now, we're not at 2 million, but we've got from a donor, we received a sizable donation to really be able to get our endowment started.
Right. And that's good for that. And that's the future long-term stuff. So in the interim, I guess you're raising the equivalent of whatever the tuition is.
Correct.
You know,
each year, just to make sure that happens. And so how do I do that if I want to do it? If I want to write that big check? Easily. You can go to the ECPS website, / educational-foundation. Just scroll to the bottom. We can give you all the information, include the video. And you can always contact me as people want to think about however they want to be a participant.
Sure.
And, we've had community members give $5. We've had community members give $10,000. Each of those makes a difference.
Sure does.
And one of the best quotes I heard from a student was Josh Webb, who's currently at NC State a second year.
Right.
And I asked him, when you hear about people donating, what does it mean to you? And he says, when I'm at school, that means the community is behind me and they're rooting for me.
That's exactly right.
To be a teacher and to come back. And so then for him, it's like the community served me.
That's right.
And now I'm giving service back to the community.
Well, and if I give anything, I'm now committed to it, right? I am now a fan. You're my horse. You know, I'm betting on you.
We're betting on you.
That's right.
And
that's a big statement, so $5 is that vote, if nothing else.
It's not. And at this time,
but with that said, checks with commas are good too.
Checks with commas are good too. And I'm in a matching campaign. So right now we've got a matching campaign thanks to a donor for up to $100,000 will be matched.
All right. So how did you end up in all this? Tell us about you, how you ended up here on this, and you're passionate about it, and I love that. And I think you and Dr. Wilson were fighting over microphone time.
We were. We were fighting.
And Jackie too. And it was a great show. In fact, I had to leave a little early, but anyway.
How did I get here into this?
Yeah.
It's a long and winding path.
We got time.
Okay. Well, I'll tell people this all the time. I am a millennial in the truest word. I've had 5 careers and I probably will have 5 more.
Okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it is.
So I started off doing actually defense consulting, then worked for a good bit of my career at a major university doing both foreign policy research and then connecting the research that was happening in at the university with defense leaders and then also in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
A lot around like cybersecurity, AI, some behavioral science.
Right.
And then
all save lives. All that stuff saves lives.
It does. It does. And
I mean, you just dance over that like it's no big deal. That's a big deal.
And it was fascinating work. I will say that. It was fascinating work.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were times where I sometimes would see research and I'm just like, my mind was completely blown by what was happening. And this is, so this is like 2013 to 2018. So this is like pre-Gen AI and we could see what was coming down the pipe, like down to that pipeline. But I had one professor who was like, just from somebody's voice sample, I can tell you how tall they are, usually what race they are, if they're a man or woman, and maybe where they're located in the U.S. And
okay, I get location and I get male, female. All right. I think I could probably do those two things. But how do the others?
Height and weight. They could also use that. It was using machine learning and the vocal cord measurements to figure that out. I think I used an expletive in a meeting when they said we could do that. And I was like, this is next level. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that gets frightening at a whole nother level too, but we'll come back to
that. Well, and I'll tell you,
it's good and bad,
It's good and bad. And it helped people because there was a prank caller that was pretending that they were stuck out at sea and sending the Coast Guard out. So wasting thousands of dollars, thousands of hours of people.
And putting lives at risk.
Putting lives at risk. And they were saying that they were like a mayday. It was with her technology. They were able to actually find that person and stop those calls.
Oh.
Yeah. It was some cool work.
That is cool work, but I'm kind of pissed that somebody would do that, right? I mean, that's just, anyway, I mean, I certainly get it's not right either. The bomb threat at school at least gets me out for 30 minutes, in a test or whatever, but that's wrong too.
It is, but it's kind of nuts how people can use these things to be nefarious. Like, you're like, I don't even have an imagination to
I don't either. I know I wouldn't have gone there.
There's no way. I would have never thought about that.
And if I do have that kind of imagination, I could certainly deploy it in so many other more profitable ways.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I'd probably be supporting rural schools in a different way than working for them if I had those.
Well, I'm soliciting. We're meandering here from defense and coordination of services and
then how did I get here?
Yeah.
So around that time, I was kind of like, I think it's time for a career transition. I was kind of bouncing around between.
I mastered this. What's next?
That's a good way to put it.
There you go. That's the way we're going to call it.
And I was doing some defense consulting in Canberra, Australia, and then working in an IT company in Atlanta, like bouncing there. My niece is born, and my grandma is here living with my parents, and my parents retired here.
Yeah.
And every
they're
time,
fine people, by the way.
They are great people. And every time I leave, it's getting harder and harder, and I can see myself fitting more and more with the fabric. And I mean, like, we know how seasons of life go. There's some seasons where you closer to family.
That's right.
There's seasons where you go off, you come back, and so this was a season for me to get closer with family.
Okay.
I volunteered at North Edgecombe High School 2 times. Probably the biggest mistake of my life.
I was going to say, you made eye contact.
And then next thing I know, I have somebody saying, have you ever thought about working for the school system? We need a community and industry engagement partner. And I was like, I have no idea how a school even runs. I haven't stepped in one since I was in high school. They were like, well, no, we'll try this out. And that's probably part of the innovation at ECPS. Like, you got a unique background and diverse background. Why would we not bring that into kids? And if somebody's willing to try it.
Well, and I'll say this, I'm not an educator and I don't want to get a whole bunch of hate mail for saying this because I don't mean it the way it's going to sound potentially, but I think education is one of those things that has just, it's been tried and true. The systems that we have educating on have been around for a long time. But sometimes a little disruption and busting it up and rethinking it is not a bad thing. And I will say that was one of the things I was most impressed with Dr. Bridgers. Oh, yeah. And we were still under good leadership, so it's not got to be careful. What you say,
it's been a great string of superintendents in
we had no question about it. But because of maybe lesser resources than say a district in Wake County or in Orange County, have had to rethink it. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing today, which is what was so impressive with that. Let's grow our own. If I can't recruit somebody, maybe I can recruit somebody, but I also want somebody who cares, who's going to stay here, who's going to be that teacher that I remember. I bet you got 3 teachers you can give me the names of right now and exactly what they meant to you and why you think so much of them.
Oh, easily. I definitely have 2 off the top.
Okay, well, that's the point. We all do.
We've got them.
And we need 12 of those, at least one for every year.
Correct.
Right? I mean, and so if you can do that, what a benefit! What a great gift
that you can have
to a child. Yeah.
And we see the direct correlation of if a kid is engaged in the gains they make in a classroom with a qualified, certified teacher, what that looks like in terms of a return on investment and in their future progress, which is one of the reasons we've also made the huge investment in the scholar teachers.
Right.
And then we talk about like disrupting and innovation.
Yeah.
Edgecombe is known as the little innovative school district that could, because we believe the same thing. Like education as it is in some ways we see it was designed in the early 20th century.
That's right.
For a completely different set of kids, for a completely different set of industries. It was you are going into a factory. That means we need you in lots and desks lined up because we need you to make sure that you're ready for that pathway.
Need you to be able to read, and be able to do basic math, and need you to be able to speak basic English, and beyond that,
we're good.
That's right.
Luckily, I would say like nationwide, the discourse around education is we have to disrupt that.
Yeah.
And then ECPS, I would say in a lot of ways, we're leading the way and saying like our vision for ECPS is we are helping kids design their own futures, help them be able to tackle problems and be world changers, right? And so if we're thinking about that, if the world is constantly shifting, how are we then disrupting systems so that we can ensure those kids are actually able to make that true?
Well, the world is shifting just that fast, which is why you've had 5 careers already. In part, it is shifting. I mean, you're talking about stuff in 2013. That same group is talking about something completely different now that'd probably be even more mind-blowing.
Correct. Correct. Oh,
and we've got to have children that can adapt to that can see that, they can get passionate and excited about it.
The whole way. And that's what we think about. And so we are always constantly trying and piloting what is out there to make that happen for kids. We never have allowed being small, being rural, or, even being a Title I district to allow us to change that vision. That's why we've got an ECPS foundation, right?
And that is what's so impressive, really and truly. And a community that wants to see it grow. And I think that's awesome, too. So what's next? What's next for this direction of ECPS, and what's next for the school system itself? And and we've got a lot going on there, right?
We got a lot
going on. I mean, with this merger, I guess is the phrase
the merger.
The merger, we use that now.
Yep. Yeah. And our merger has been going well. Yep. Our kids have been our new faculty, our new schools have come powerfully and loudly into the ECPS fold. Yeah. It feels like a family reunion again.
Has it really? Okay. Well,
it has been really good. I never forget, I had a student about 2 weeks ago. She came in a couple days late from just trying to figure out what school she was supposed to go to.
Right.
She had been in the school at North Edgecombe High School for 2 hours.
Okay.
She's asking me a question about buses, and I was like, baby, I don't really work here, but let's get you an answer. And I said, but how's your day going? She said, I feel like the people here really care about me and love me.
Wow.
2 hours.
Wow.
She had been in that school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just got to warm your heart up.
Oh, it just, I love my educators and I love the environments that they're creating to make it happen. Yeah. It's fantastic. But what do we have coming up? We have a lot going on and we'll continue to do. And of course, we're working on the merger.
Yep.
North Edgecombe High School is where all of the high school students as a part of the merger went to.
Mm-hmm.
And
from Rocky Mount.
From Rocky Mount. That's right. From Rocky Mount. And
we still have a good population that goes southwest too, and always have.
And always have. They're from Rocky Mount. That's right. What we were able to do that's been really a big coup this year is that we received funding from New School Venture Fund to create the North Edgecombe High School of Innovation, which is that freshman class, which is a model that definitely focuses on the passions of kids, and also is incorporating more and more in terms of workforce development and workforce exposure. Building into that curriculum, leave to learns, where students were going to go explore different industries, and then into learns where we're inviting community members in, part of the curriculum.
Right.
That's one.
So that's based in North Edgecombe, and if I'm not mistaken, there are 3 tracks going to be planned. One's a healthcare track, is that right? And what I thought was really great about that, and I went up had a chance. Dr. Bridgers invited me to go up to New York to look at, I can't remember the school.
Brooklyn Steam.
That's it.
That's a great model.
Wow, it really was. I mean, so that high school, I think had I may be wrong, somewhere around 16% graduation rate. They incorporated basically an individualized curriculum.
Yep.
Where we make sure we touched all the requirements.
Correct.
And it had, 95% graduation rate? I may be overreaching on that. Maybe 85%. But anyways, a massive increase. And of those who applied for college, there was a 95% acceptance rate.
Right.
And that all happened in the space of, it was a very short period of time.
It's a very short period of time.
It was 3-4 years. I don't remember exactly, but I was just like, wow.
And it's the power of what happens when you make those key investments in students, in people, because that people and the mindset of the people that you have as educators working on that and the designers of that curriculum, that is what's possible. And we're getting outside support also to make sure that, because people believe that can happen in this community.
Well, look, you've got a lot of folks that need employees, right? And then what are you going to be trained in? And what I love, like the healthcare, I don't know, everybody who's listening knows really what we're talking about. So basically it's a group, I think, was it 200 kids met what was it take 100 people? I can't remember. There's a certain number of folks over a 4-year period of time in whatever particular track that we're talking about. And track's probably not the right term, cohort, whatever, healthcare, let's just say.
Okay.
So I'm going to college. I'm going to high school. I'm participating in early college. I'm tasting things in healthcare. I might come out a nursing assistant. I may come out a registered nurse. I may come out an LPN. I may say, hey, look, I want to pursue, become a physician assistant or nurse practitioner, or maybe I want to go to med school, or maybe I don't want to do any of that. Maybe I want to be a therapist. But it opens up the world where you can either come out with some skills that would enable you to have a job right away.
Right.
Or position you to be better accepted for a 4-year accredited institution if that's where you're trying to go.
That may be a different model.
Okay, well, I'm working off something different.
It's okay. It's okay, because I'm thinking, I wonder if that's actually one of the career academies.
Yeah, okay, that maybe
that's what it is. We haven't fully launched that when you talk about things down the pipeline. That career academy, that is down the pipeline.
Well, I was super excited about that. And not only that, I mean, but, entrepreneurial studies and also trying to create internships for kids and. So anyway, you educate me then on what you're talking about, because I thought I was right there with you.
That's fine. I mean, again, North Edgecombe High School. I mean, sorry, not North Edgecombe. Edgecombe County Public Schools. We are constantly working on, different innovations for kids. So if you got lost in the sauce, it's okay.
That's all right.
But that is what's one of the career academies, which Dr. Bryan, the current superintendent, has worked on before in his previous work. And we're looking at how we're going to be incorporating
And what a great handoff, because it had started in the previous administration, a little bit different. But Dr. Bryan, I think, is a great guy. I think he gets it. I think he is probably the man for the job today. And so, just got to say that to him too,
fantastic leader. Great. It's great. I've been super blessed with the leadership I've been able to work under in Edgecombe County. From principals I've started with to assistant superintendents to superintendents. I tell people, if Edgecombe County Public Schools said, Arlane, your only job is just to sit around here and we need to pick up some Post-its, to work under these leaders and these teachers and principals, I think I probably would do it. They're that
well,
good.
no, that's really a large part of what people work for. I mean, people think it's about money, and money matters.
Yeah, it does matter. My mortgage has to get paid.
It just got to get paid. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I've seen a lot of people not take an increase to stay with a different leader because they've been so dynamic, and the trade-off and the learning and the far outweigh a few more shekels.
Yeah. It definitely can. That whole environment. I mean,
it's amazing. Now, I mean, again, money matters. I'm not saying you should work for nothing for whatever. But correct.
But yeah. So what's happening at North Edgecombe it's been designed by that school and those school leaders specifically for that community separately, with a focus on creating communities, individualized learning, and then helping kids find their passion and purpose. We definitely wanted to.
So what does that mean? Like an inter group forum group? I mean, we talk about little cohorts or different groups. I mean, what does that?
Yeah, what does that really look like? Yeah. I'm like, this might take me 30 full minutes myself, but it's okay. So what it is that within that whole high school, we have advisory. And actually, most of our high schools do have advisory. We replaced homeroom, so we no longer have homeroom. What advisory is that it's students meeting with a trusted adult and another group of students that they create bonds with.
Same age, same class, or?
No, it can be from different classes. So they can be from different classes along the way. But in those classes, you do some of your executive functioning as well as help with your individualized plan. So that could be a time where they check in with you about, hey, how are things going in your math class right now? That's a time for, we've got these certain events happening at the school or in the district that could be good opportunities for you. It could be a time where we discuss project management. It could be a time where we discuss time management or how we show up professionally. So that all happens in advisory. You're also then creating bonds with a group of people. That means you're increasing relationships across the building, right? So this is another cultural tie. When we talk about graduation relates, like you mentioned before, graduation, kids aren't dropping out of school as senior year. We're losing them freshman year.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to figure out.
That's what it was my school.
how are we creating bonds that you have freshman year that when you're out of school for a day, someone's calling to check on you and say, hey, it's not just a call to say, where are you? You're absent. It's a text from your kid in your advisory that's, hey, are you doing all right?
Right.
I haven't seen you. Do you need any support today? Do you need any help? Here's the homework, etc.
Wow. That's a big deal.
That happens.
Yeah. Well, I know my junior high, we had just had a bunch of kids that were 16, just waiting to turn 16 so they could drop out.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and it was evident to everybody.
Correct. They're just like, this is all they're waiting for, and then they're done.
That's exactly right. Now I can go do it, and sayonara. But that kind of interpersonal relationship, and I don't call it accountability. It's not, but it kind of is.
It kind of is, but yeah.
You know, it's just more of a heartfelt, how are you really doing? And I care about you.
Yeah. And I want it to be clear. It sounds like it's very touchy-feely. There is a developed curriculum that goes along with advisory.
Right.
Another example of kind of us as ECPS hearing, I mean, like everything that we do starts off with something that we hear from parents.
Okay.
Hear from kids and hear from community members.
Okay.
The superintendent has a parents advisory council and a student advisory council.
Okay.
He listens to them. For the merger, we had our transition team. They did over 300 interviews to really understand what community members and parents had and what their best wishes are for their parents and their kids. I'm sorry. We have teachers and principals that do home visits to parents. What's the dream that you have for your kids?
Wow.
How do we make that happen? And that's what gets incorporated. And so then we go out and say, well, if these are the things that parents want to be true, what is happening in this entire country, in this world, that we can bring to ECPS to make that happen? That looks like an advisory model, or that looks like the house system from Ron Clark School, which is a little like Harry Potter school houses.
Sure.
But you have kids who graduate and are like, oh, I was in Isabendi house. Yeah. And they know the chants, and that still sticks in the school. It's not just I was a warrior at North Edgecombe or I was a Tarboro High School Viking. It was I had this attachment as well inside of the school. Somebody cared about me.
Sure. I mean, it's a fraternity or sorority or, all the above. And advisory is something that, boarding schools have been doing for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I was asking, multiple classes. So you're not only learning from your peer group, but you're learning from those a little bit older. You're learning from that trusted adult, and it's magical.
It is.
It is magical.
It is.
When it works well, it's wow.
It's wow. And you see like the mentorship happening between students and the care. It's fantastic.
And what it doesn't allow is a kid just to kind of drift off into the corner and be just completely ignored. There's somebody, they may not want the attention, but there's always somebody saying, hey, Sandy, what's going on with you?
Correct.
What's going on? You don't look right. You look different today. I mean, I care about you. What's going on? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me on.